And Indiana has done it. Their first ever Commissioner's Cup championship, knocking off the Minnesota Lynx.
This image is nightmare fuel for Caitlin Clark's haters because they know everything just changed. Let me explain. They thought they had Caitlin on the ropes. She was struggling. She was out of action and the Fever were floundering without her. They thought Diana Taurasi's reality check prophecy was finally coming true. They smelled blood and they were getting in their petty jabs.
The Indiana Fever win the Commissioner's Cup.
The Indiana Fever just put the beats on the Minnesota Lynx.
Caitlin Clark, like some mad stuff, and I'm not going to be playing too much of the noise. Caitlin Clark walking around the team with the Commissioner's Cup trophy.
Well, what a game for the Indiana Fever. They came up with the victory against the Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup.
But the Fever's Commissioner's Cup win flipped the script. Nobody saw it coming, especially ESPN, who absolutely humiliated themselves. I'll get to them in a moment. This win transformed the landscape for Caitlin and the Fever for the rest of the season in 3 important ways. Stay tuned as we break down the shocking upset, the celebrations that went viral, and what this means for the future of women's basketball. Let's set the scene. The Indiana Fever walked into the Target Center for their first ever Commissioner's Cup final with their roster falling apart at the seams.
Its mind.
That's a no! Congratulations, lady!
The Fever went on a run. They did not allow the Lynx to score for over 8 minutes.
The Indiana Fever are sipping the sweet nectar of the Commission.
Caitlin Clark, their superstar sophomore who had been carrying this team all season, was sitting on the bench for the 3rd straight game with a groin injury that just wouldn't heal. This wasn't just any player missing, this was their leading scorer, their assist machine, the reason fans packed arenas across the country. But that's not all the Fever were dealing with. Damiris Dantas was thousands of miles away playing in FIBA Americas, leaving another massive hole in their rotation. Then you have the Dewana Bonner situation that absolutely shocked everyone. Here's a veteran player the Fever signed in the offseason to add experience and leadership. What does she do? She quits on the team after just 9 games and gets waived.
She got chased by Trey Lachey. Is that how you pronounce it? Got chased by Caitlin Clark, Lex Gill, and Sophie Cunningham with champagne.
Now, let's talk about who they were facing. The Minnesota Lynx weren't just good, they were dominant. A 14-2 record heading into this game made them the best team in the entire WNBA. They were the defending Commissioner's Cup champions, playing on their home court, with Nafisa Collier leading the charge as the MVP frontrunner. Las Vegas had the Lynx favored by 14 points. 14 points! The basketball world had already written the Fever's obituary before tip-off.
Time.
ESPN posted, I think around the 3rd quarter, at least that's when I was notified about it, that the Lynx dominate the Fever to win the Commissioner's Cup. And I took a screenshot. This is totally my screenshot, so I went and I verified this.
Here's where it gets absolutely insane. ESPN was so confident in a Lynx blowout that they did something unprecedented. During the game, around the 3rd quarter, ESPN posted a graphic that read Lynx dominate Fever to capture Commissioner's Cup. They had already written the story before the game was over. This wasn't just a prediction. This was ESPN literally posting the final result while the game was still being played. They left this up the entire game and only changed the title after it was over. Can you imagine the arrogance, the disrespect? ESPN essentially told the world that the Fever had no chance, that the outcome was so obvious they could publish the results in real time.
Caitlin and her status, just how did she look? How did she feel today during shoot-around? And is she making progress and getting closer to playing?
She's making progress. You know, I think, again, top of mind, I think I told you this afternoon, is just long-term. You know, making sure that we don't have any setbacks. You know, making progress and feeling good are 2 different things. And we want to make sure that she feels good. We want to make sure that she's confident. We want to make sure that we're not putting her in a position to have any setbacks.
But here's the beautiful part. The Fever pulled an Uno reverse card on ESPN. They didn't just win, they dominated the Lynx in their own barn without Caitlin Clark playing a single minute. The final score, 74-59. The Fever went on an 18-0 run that left the Lynx speechless. For over 8 minutes, Minnesota couldn't buy a bucket. It was a masterclass in heart and determination that left everyone, especially ESPN, with egg on their face. But what happened after the game? That's where this story gets even better. The second that final buzzer echoed through the arena, the place absolutely erupted. But it was what happened behind those locker room doors just minutes later that got the entire internet losing its mind. Caitlin Clark, who didn't even log a single minute in the game, was dead center of the celebration. She was jumping around with Aaliyah Boston on TikTok Live, proudly shouting, "Proud of my girls." But then came the moment that broke the internet.
But Caitlin Clark in the middle of it goes, she just shouts in, "I just know everyone in the league is sick." And Leah Boston goes, "They're pissed."
Congratulations to the Indiana Fever. We are the champions of the 2025.
Midway through the hyped-up TikTok Live, Caitlin leaned into the camera and dropped the line that every Fever fan had been quietly thinking. "I know the rest of the league is sick." It wasn't cocky, it wasn't petty, it was just straight, unfiltered truth. The league had basically left Indiana for dead. The media storyline was no Caitlin, no chance. And yet there they were, trophy in hand. That little clip didn't just trend, it detonated. ESPN, Bleacher Report, Overtime, and every WNBA fan account alive reposted it 100 different ways. Fans clipped it for Twitter, turned it into viral TikToks, plastered it on Reels. This wasn't staged PR, this was pure, unfiltered energy.
ESPN did, with the Indiana Fever getting dominated by the Minnesota Lynx.
Contrary to what you may have seen on ESPN's YouTube page, the Fever dominated the Lynx to win the Commissioner's.
Now let's talk about the reaction from Caitlin's critics, because it was absolutely unhinged. The go-to-knock against Caitlin had always been that she hadn't won a championship. That's what kept her out of ESPN's top 5 college players of all time list, despite rewriting the record book. Even the whole rivalry with Angel Reese was built on this. They used Caitlin's lack of titles to prop up Angel's LSU championship. But now, that crutch just got kicked out from under them. Of course, if you ask the haters, this championship doesn't count. Not only are they saying it's not a real championship, they're claiming that because Caitlin didn't play in the final game, it doesn't count anyway.
It did not look like the Fever was going to win this game. I mean, they were down by 13 at one point in the beginning of the game. Nobody could sink a bucket. The Lynx weren't even playing that well, but they were definitely not letting the Fever get.
But here's the beautiful irony. These are the same people who celebrated Angel Reese's unrivaled championship, where Angel not only didn't play in the final, she wasn't even in the building, but somehow that counted for Angel, while Caitlin's Commissioner's Cup doesn't count for her. The saltiest tears? Some fans are actually claiming the game was rigged. One tweet read, "The real fans will find out what backroom deal you made to have the Lynx throw this game when we find out we're coming for your jobs." The selective logic is stunning. But here's what really has the haters shaking.
Especially in the beginning, the Indiana Fever looked kind of like chickens with their heads cut off at moments. But, they pulled it together. Stephanie White brought them together. And one thing I do have to say positive about Stephanie White is
this victory transformed the Fever's season in 3 crucial ways. It takes the pressure off this team. As they say, winning solves everything. While the team had been struggling with chemistry issues, Sophie Cunningham recently said they were on their own islands. Nothing brings everyone together like a championship. They had to beat the 2 top teams in the league, the Liberty and the Lynx. The swagger is officially back. This gives Caitlin more time to rest. There was speculation that the Fever had been allowing Caitlin to play hurt, then rush her back from injury. Now there's no reason the Fever can't stay in the playoff picture without Caitlin for another few games or weeks. Fans have been begging the organization to sit Caitlin longer to ensure she's fully healed, and this victory makes that approach much more viable. When Caitlin comes back 100% healthy, she'll be playing with a team that's clicking and winning games without her. With players like Natasha Howard stepping up, she was absolutely dominant in the final, they can now phase Caitlin back in rather than burn her out by over-relying on her. All of this is scary for the haters because they smelled blood. They loved that Caitlin was going through a slump, and they let her know through anonymous player voting that ranked her 9th among guards for the All-Star game. 9th. When teams double-team her every game, when you look at the numbers, this screams hit job. But now the script has flipped. The haters are afraid because they know a peak Caitlin Clark and a dominant Fever team will continue to break viewership records and bring in new fans. The Indiana Fever's Commissioner's Cup victory wasn't just an upset, it was a statement. While critics counted them out, while ESPN prepared graphics for their defeat, this team showed the heart of champions. Caitlin Clark may not have played a single minute in that final game, but her fingerprints were all over this victory. From her 32-point near triple-double against the Liberty that got them to the final, to her leadership from the bench, to that viral celebration that reminded everyone why she's the face of this franchise. The message is clear: the Fever are back, the haters are sick, and this is just the beginning. When Caitlin returns fully healthy to a confident, championship-winning team, the rest of the WNBA better be ready. What do you think? Are the Fever now legitimate championship contenders? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more coverage of the WNBA's most compelling storylines.